Hey guys, this is the first video on my channel. I hope you enjoy it. Today I am going to be going over my tanking spec for the Legionnaire of Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer. This build allowed me to fight the end boss of a mission and about 10 of his lackeys by myself because the rest of my party had died, and I was successful in that. I'm going to go ahead and start with the combined arms tree because that is the shorter one. I bypass payback strike because I don't use it. Going down here, it'll cost you. Basically, any foe that attacks you in melee gets reflected damage back at them, 15% damage returned. Going down to deep reserves, you get your breath back faster than most. When your stamina is very low, it regenerates more quickly. This is very helpful when you're using shield wall against a multitude of enemies, because every time you get hit when having shield wall up, it drains your stamina instead of draining your health. So, going on over to the Guardian trait, shield wall clearly, and its upgrade, because when you're closing on a ranged enemy, it definitely helps being able to move a lot faster. Plus, when your allies are within 4 meters of you, they get a 30% armor boost. So going over here, we've got Adamant, always great. You've trained hard and now you know how to make the most of whatever armor you're wearing. Gives you a 20% armor bonus. Going to Resilience, this, you don't flinch, you don't blink, and don't back down. Enemies that hit you with melee attacks are staggered by recoil. This is really helpful because 1 in 20 enemies that hit you in melee are going to bounce back and they're going to be stunned for 2 seconds, allowing you that extra time. Now, I only took challenge because I didn't have Warcry yet. That's optional. If you can manage to hold out for 2 or 3 more levels until you can get Warcry, you can put that skill point elsewhere, because I don't use it anymore now that I've gotten Warcry. So now I'm going to go over here to Combat Roll. Combat Roll, in my opinion, is a very underused and underappreciated skill. This allows you to roll and move about the battlefield. You dive and roll where the battle needs you to be, whether it's escaping from a group or moving to flank an opponent. This is extremely helpful when you taunt all the enemies in an area. You can only face one direction, and when facing that direction, that's where you block. If you've got enemies to the side, flanking you, or behind you, they're gonna, they're not gonna hit your shield, so you're gonna take that damage, and it's gonna come off your guard or your health. Combat Roll lets you dive out of that circle and spin around, basically, so you're facing all of them and they're still taunted. This is very helpful when you're low on health and need to move around. It is only because of Combat Roll I was able to fight off the end boss and all of his minions. I also got Roll with it. You can now use Combat Roll to recover from most disabling conditions. This is very helpful when you're feared or even when you're knocked down. It lets you pop right back up, get right back in the fight. So moving down here, the biggest threat, clearly you're going to be a tank. This increases your threat by 25%. I also went over here to got Hardened, because it gives you a +3 to your strength, which is nice, a little damage boost there, and more importantly, a +6 to your constitution. That's a lot more hit points, and hit points as a tank are everything. So turn the blade. Any blow you can see, you can turn aside. All damage coming from the front is reduced, so especially when you're using shield wall, things like that, any blows coming at you from the front, you're going to take less damage from them, so great thing for a tank. And of course, Warcry. You taunt all nearby enemies with a shouted challenge, gaining extra guard for each enemy affected. Basically, if you combat roll right into the middle of a group of enemies and Warcry, you're going to get 20% of your guard per enemy that you taunt. When there's more than 5, you can go from 0 guard to 100% guard in an instant. I also got Call to Arms. You draw strength from your Warcry, improving your armor for the coming fight. This gives you a 200% armor bonus for 10 seconds after you use Warcry. Now, Guard is basically just extra hit points. There's nothing special about it other than you can regenerate it. So having extra armor, reduces the amount of damage you take, and therefore reduces the amount of damage your guard takes. So it's extremely, extremely helpful. And then coming over here, this actually helps your party, Cutting words. Your party does more damage to taunted targets as you rattle your enemy's nerves and goad them into making mistakes that leave them open. Since you're going to be controlling most of the battlefield and keeping almost everyone on top of you, this is very helpful because this allows the rest of your party to deal even more damage to the enemies that are already attacking you and not them. So going down here, the bread and butter of the skill tree. Walking Fortress. You may not be able to hold them off forever, but right now nothing can touch you. You have complete immunity to damage for a short time. I can't tell you, anyone who's played a tank before knows being completely immune to damage is beautiful. It's wonderful, and especially once you get the upgrade, every attack that strikes you reduces your cooldown times and increases your guard. Now, I don't know if it decreases the cooldown of Walking Fortress itself, because you're using it at that point in time. However, my usual mode of operation is I will combat roll into a group of enemies, war cry, and then once they're all taunted on me, if I'm not already at max guard, or once they bring my guard down, I'll pop Walking Fortress. This makes me completely immune to damage, and then of course, because I've got the upgrade, then my guard goes almost entirely back up to full. So, incredibly helpful. And then of course, last but not least, Trust the Steel. This also gives you another 20% to your armor bonus. Again, having extra armor as a tank, always helpful, always useful. Now I'm currently only level 18, and what I plan to do with the other 2 levels is I plan on coming down here and getting the Bear Mauls the Wolves. This basically allows you so you cannot be flanked and you're much less likely to be staggered by your enemies. That's what I'm planning on getting next. So that's also very helpful as a tank. You can also look into getting Turn the Bolt. I clearly didn't pick it, but it's also very useful because when you're closing, especially once you get the Cavalier's Step and allowing you to move faster with your shield wall up, when you're closing on a ranged opponent, this gives you a 50% damage reduction. So whether you got your shield wall up or you're just trying to charge across the battlefield, this definitely helps when you're trying to close with an enemy. So anyway, this is my build for my Legionnaire. Again, this allowed me to take on an end boss and about 10 minions solo, because the rest of my party was dead. So if you liked the video, go ahead and give me a like, and if I get enough of them and enough good positive comments, I'll go over some of the other builds and things that I've done for online multiplayer Dragon Inquisition. So I will talk to you later. Have a great day, guys. Bye.